Thank you, Adam. I'm excited to be here and speak with you all. I'm Shahid Rashid. I'm the head of product and development at Oncoustics. Just a little bit about myself before we get into more about the company and what we're doing. I've spent over 20 years in technology development, up and down Silicon Valley, mostly in startups, including being a founder myself. Through acquisition and some other means, I've spent a few years at some big companies as well. I've spent over a dozen years in technology management, also over a dozen years focused in health tech. Immediately prior to joining Oncoustics, I took a little bit of a break from the Valley and worked with the NIH in their RADx program, where we deployed $1.5 billion to incubate companies and labs to accelerate the availability and development of COVID diagnostics. Way back in the start of my career, I was actually a hands-on software and algorithm developer for about 5 years. I'm here to speak to you a little bit and share a little bit about what we're doing at Oncoustics. Oncoustics is a Toronto-based startup, and we are creating low-cost, non-invasive diagnostics for liver disease powered by machine learning. I can't see questions while I'm presenting, but I'm happy if people want to chat some questions. There are a couple points where I'll take them. Otherwise, happy to take questions at the end as well. So I'll pause once or twice during the presentation to see if people have questions. Happy to make this more interactive. So there are over 2 billion people globally living with or at risk for liver disease. Liver disease is often asymptomatic and until very advanced stages. So most people that have it aren't even aware they're walking around with it. The rise in liver disease is attributable to 3 major conditions, all found globally: obesity, diabetes, and alcoholism. In particular, diabetes and obesity lead to a condition called non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, or NAFLD. Structural liver disease, like fat and fibrosis, are expected to drive most liver-related cancers, transplants, and mortalities over the next decade. NAFLD can also exacerbate other behavioral health conditions like diabetes and cardiovascular disease. If you have NAFLD, your risk for all-cause mortality goes up. Now, here's the catch. If you catch liver disease early, your chance of survival goes way up. However, current preventive approaches to catch and diagnose structural liver disease early are complex and time-consuming. They often involve several appointments and specialists. They can be expensive and minimally available. Often, these procedures involve expensive imaging, such as MRI, or highly invasive procedures like biopsy. Now, for those of you that are coming from the software and design space, you're surely familiar with the rule that every click that someone has to do drives down retention. The same thing is true in the healthcare field. Each of these hops that you see here increases costs and lowers retention. And this leads to delayed diagnosis, and worse outcomes. All these issues around getting treated seamlessly and easily are exacerbated in areas with limited healthcare access, especially common in rural and low-income communities. So these factors and this huge unmet need drove us to create Onyx. Onyx is a complete liver diagnostic for point-of-care liver evaluation. We have a unique and inexpensive approach to quickly examine a patient's liver. Any clinical or care team member can quickly perform the exam and within 5 minutes get an assessment of a patient's liver health. We guide clinicians through liver scanning and then simplify interpretation by presenting results in a format familiar to them. One of our key enabling techs is the growth of handheld ultrasound devices. Over a dozen companies in this space have come about in the last few years, and we have proof of concepts done with many of them. Our first clinical solution will use these Clarius devices. We're able to ship a paired probe and mobile device to a clinical team and have them up and running doing these diagnoses within a week. Just this last week, in fact, we brought on 2 new clinical partners. Oncoustics is a software as a medical device solution, SAMD, if you might hear that expression, with a very unique approach. We power ultrasound to go beyond what can be seen by the human eye by mining the raw RF coming in from these devices. The grayscale ultrasound image you might be familiar with, sometimes called a beam, or actually called a B mode, is a massive downsampling of this raw RF data. We're tapping into this richer data stream and hence powering our analysis with more information. If you look at these 2 images here on the left, it's very hard even for an experienced radiologist to differentiate between the 2. But by applying our patented ML-based algorithms, we can map the tissue properties and acoustic biomarkers to detect diseased tissue and provide quantitative insight into liver health. As a result, Oncoustics provides a tool that can fit in a pocket and provide deep health insights at point of care and at low cost, driving improvements in both patient and population health. This is a good point to take a quick break if anyone has any questions on anything so far, or I'll keep going.
Yeah, I think we'll probably just maybe leave the Q&A to the end there, Shahid.
Okay, sure. I'll just keep on going through everything then. So our solution has been built using, with efforts spanning clinical, technical, design, business efforts. I'm going to spend the next few minutes getting into more detail in just in one small but very core part of this, our machine learning and data processing pipeline. As a company, we came together as a group of clinically focused ML scientists, healthcare experienced software developers, and clinical technologists. Our starting approach was to create a software shell around academic science. So take the theories and the publications and the research our ML team has done, and then put a nice wrapping around it from a software perspective. But as we started rolling this out, just even internally, we soon came to realize that that was not enough. We came back to some basic technology design principles to build our solution pipeline. One of the biggest challenges and actually frustrations for us is that ML and ML ops, especially in deep tech, is not standardized at all. So we've gone out and had to build a lot of custom solutions. I've purposely presented this sketch here as a generic workflow, so I hope that it's applicable to many of you, all these steps. But there has been a lot of unique customization we've had to do at each step. And so I would also probably suggest that's going to be the path for anyone else who's thinking about either joining a deep tech company or building a deep tech company, it's good to take some basic frameworks, but each of these steps are going to need customization of your own. And, each set of steps, or the arrangement of steps, might be unique for each of you as well. But as hopefully some help to some of you, I'll go through our steps, and maybe there's something you can take away. First point that's important is to figure out guidance on data capture. So defining what you want to capture. And this is whether you're directing people to capture the data or sending a machine to go out and scrape the internet. You have to figure out what you want to capture. Then you've got to figure out how you're actually going to capture this data, acquiring the data. Now that you've got the data, you want to validate it. Noise is absolutely a problem. Anytime you get data, it applies here just like it does in any other field. Once you have the data, and you have the data that you think is good, you then want to transform it so that it's ready for machine learning. Some processes it's simple, and ours it's quite complex. Then, of course, you finally get, after all these steps, you get to the step where you actually get to do your machine learning. This is complicated and complex, and there's a lot of work that goes into this step, of course. And then finally, you want to present your results. I've laid this out as a generic pipeline in our training pipeline. Step E is obviously the machine learning. In our production pipeline, that's using our inference model. Step F in our training pipeline is our analytics and performance evaluation. In our production pipeline, of course, it is the report for the doctor. Now, to speak about some of the particular challenges we've had, a clinic is a very busy setting. They're seeing many patients. They have more important things to do than messing with a piece of technology. So we spent a lot of time to build a solution that clinicians can learn quickly and perform quickly. As far as data acquisition, pretty much across the board, all ultrasound systems throw away their RF data. It's not saved, it's not stored. So we've had to go out and prospectively collect all our training data. One advantage to this is that we do, since we're prospectively collecting it, we're also labeling at the point of collection. So this is also a big ML problem, is labeling your data. We get most of our data pre-labeled and sometimes with multiple points of labeling. Also in this step, we need to control parameters in our device so that we're getting standardized inputs. So we have fixed presets on our device. We also control and guide and do quality assurance around how the scans are performed. In the data curation step, we control for factors like device settings, scan angles, patient demographics, and also other disease exclusion criteria. Now, I mentioned we're powered by more data, which is great. It lets us have deeper insights. This is also a bigger challenge. More data is more power, but also more challenge. It's true across the pipeline, but particularly in the data processing and machine learning steps, the fact that we're dealing with this greater volume of data presents some real unique challenges. One of the aspects that's really unique in our pipeline is that we're actually running two sets of experiments in parallel. Our data processing is powered by the emerging field of quantitative ultrasound. So in our data processing step, we're actually running dozens of parallel transformations in parallel. And we're also frequently reprocessing our entire data set as we adopt new quantitative ultrasound techniques. So we have this multiplicity of experiments and transformations going on in our data processing step. We've had to build solutions in a pipeline to manage that. Also, the one thing I will note here in the data processing step is that sometimes people will want to jump right in. Okay, hey, let's grab some data, let's throw it into a machine learning algorithm. And I will tell you that you will make your data processing step much an order of magnitude more complicated if you do not spend appropriate design time on steps A, B, and C. Make sure you're bringing in the data cleanly and appropriately. If you just go right to the data processing, you're almost very likely going to get yourself into a world of headache. On our machine learning step, we are, as I mentioned, we're mining the raw RF. So we are not image classification. There's lots of stuff out there off the shelf that you can get for image classification, but those don't help us. So we've had to build custom models and custom pipelines. We've had to become an ML ops company, at least internally, for ourselves. It would have been nice if you could have outsourced it, but a lot of this we've just had to build ourselves. And in terms of our outputs, we have, of course, spent a lot of time with doctors to create results in a format that's interesting and meaningful to them. The other element that we're spending a lot of time working on our outputs is with the FDA, who've given us good feedback because we want to make sure that we are being appropriate and conscious in what we report out to our eventual end users. One of the things we found out through this process is that there is no standard playbook for machine learning and ML ops. We'd actually hope, it would be the same thing as setting up a database or many other pieces of infrastructure. It's really not, at least in the deep tech space. There are some things being done for LLMs and other things like that you can sort of go boilerplate, but in deep tech, a lot of this has to be custom built. So while this page is listed as a stack architecture, kind of a top-down approach, I will talk about some of the elements here as we came about decisions on them. So one of the first things we standardized around is our ML toolkit. We're using Python and TensorFlow, fairly common. I don't think there's anything special there. But I will say we've come to the point in our company where we are starting to experiment with other frameworks as well. And so we're starting to spin out some experimental environments where we're testing other things for certain conditions. Next, we looked at a few cloud platforms. And it's a long discussion around why we ended up with GCP, but we've been quite happy with them. The biggest reason I'll say is that the team over at Google has been interested in working with us as scientists and entrepreneurs who are out testing things and breaking things. We've broken multiple elements of the stack many times as we push the boundaries on things. So it's nice to have a partner that works with us as we're pushing the envelope on some of these things. Like many other companies, we're using Kubernetes to power a lot of our work. Probably should have also had a little thing in here for GPUs. All our work is powered by accelerators. Now, as we've built this pipeline, and both this slide and the slide previous, we've got that standardized, and we say, okay, hey, everything is working well. We're able to get results. Our scientists, of course, say, and which is very natural, hey, how can we do more faster, right? I want to throw more experiments. I want to try more things. And previously, we had a very manual process to do this, working out of instances, and it wasn't optimized for experiment scaling. We've recently put in Vertex AI to help us with our training orchestration. And the improvements have been quite significant. We've had a 10x improvement in improvement in overall training throughput. So that's been great for our scientists. Also, not only have we had that improvement in throughput, the overhead that they've had to spend managing the system has reduced. So 2 big wins. The one bit of caution I will put here is that being able to power the system so much more rapidly, you also bring on increased costs. So this is something we've now paying more attention to. Is now that we've got the system that works and able to support the scientists doing whatever they want, how do we come back and look and bring down costs in certain ways? So at Oncoustics, we've created a simple tool and process that provides clinical teams the ability to provide faster, cheaper, and better care to their patients with liver conditions. This has been built closely with practicing clinicians. Our clinical board of advisors include world-leading physicians. We've done interviews with hundreds of clinicians, and we're partnering with some of the most respected clinical institutions. We're not competitive at all with clinical care providers. In fact, we're helping them manage their routine patients so they can spend more time on the patients that need more care. We have not been able to do this in a vacuum. We've had a huge list of development partners, but just to give you a sampling of some of them, we're working, Obio has supported us to enable some of our early clinical use, which has been great for us as a company to get information and feedback. We were excited to be part of Google's first AI incubator. We graduated about a month ago, but we still have weekly access engagement with senior staff from Google. And it's great for a small company like ours. We're also excited about being included in an accelerator with Parkview Health. They're based out of the US Midwest. And in that, we're focusing on how can we apply some of our technologies to help with pediatric health. The Oncoustics team has deep experience in healthcare, machine learning, ultrasound, and in startups. There's multiple exits, multiple successes, multiple NIH grants in the team that you see represented here. But we're continually growing. The team has gone from less than 10 people to over 30 in the last 18 months. In just last week, we filled 2 roles. And we have a couple of key positions open right now. We're looking for a machine learning, an MLOps engineer, also a software QA engineer. And in case there are any college students out there, we also have openings for co-ops in software QA and in the clinical team. That said, we're always looking for smart people across machine learning, software, clinical, and other roles. You can go to our website and see a full listing. If there's something that interests you or you feel like there's some other fit, please reach out to us at recruiting@oncoustics.com. That's actually the best way to get attention if you're applying for a job. It'll get lost if it goes to any of us directly. That said, outside of a job application, I'm very happy to connect with you, interested in supporting the community at large. The best way to get my attention, and really connect is through LinkedIn. So reach out to me at LinkedIn. The one pro tip I will give you is that if you are reaching out to me or anyone else on LinkedIn, add a little note about how we connected. So in this case, say, hey, Shahid, I liked, loved, hated your presentation you gave on November 1st, but would love to connect. And that invites me, or it could just be, hey, saw you speak the other day. That really opens up the conversation. Too much other spam out there otherwise, but please do connect with me if you're interested. And if you're interested in a position, send it to recruiting. You can even also, again, mention that you came to this presentation, and that'll also get our attention and it'll get circulated appropriately. That's what I have, Adam. Are there questions from the audience?